Standing up in McKinney, this is According to Callus. Welcome. We're back. It's Thursday. It's the 28th of March, 2024. That's right, the year of our Lord, 2024, and we're almost done with 3 full months. What does that mean? Well, that means we'll be 1/4 of the way done with the year. And as another famous podcaster said, tick-tock, right? I'm not going to steal that from him. That is all his. But, boy, that's what I was thinking of today. Where has the time gone? All right, so today we're going to talk about, in episode 610, we're going to do a brief movie review, as is the schedule calls for. And I'm going to talk about 3 different books. One I finished, one I'm just starting, and the other one I'm about 2/3 of the way through. And then we're going to kick you off into the Friday and hopefully come up with a fun little recap of the week's events, including the mystery of the bridge collapse and various other things. Before we get there, before we start up, let me remind you the best way you can help me continue to grow the program, be heard, get our message out, make a difference, and all that other good stuff is to like, share, and subscribe to this here podcast. Join me on your favorite social media. I have a page and a group over at Facebook. I'm pro at Gab, and guess what? I still show up at MeWe, and to the best of my knowledge, my stuff is still mostly up at YouTube. Someday, I will figure out the other different media platforms and get over there. But for now, this is what I do, and this is what I have time for, and this is the investment I give to you. 25 to 30 minutes, 4, if not 5 times a week, bringing to you, things that are going on, things that I'm involved in, and how that relates to us here in Texas, specifically Collin County, McKinney area, right? Everything that happens in the world has some impact here locally. Now, if you followed along, Tuesday was a little dark. Today, Wednesday's episode is probably going to be even a little more dark in the grand scheme of things. But today I want to be a little more lighthearted. So we're going to talk about the movie Roadhouse. Yeah, and I think I've seen the Patrick Swayze original twice over the years. Not really sure what about Roadhouse would inspire somebody to remake the movie, but I got to say I was intrigued. I had some time to kill, 2 hours, over 2 days, mind you, and I watched Jake Gyllenhaal, whatever his name is, take on an MMA fighter, and that was interesting. Now, all I need to tell you about the movie is there is actually I'm trying to be nice here. There's a script. There's a story. Nothing to blow you away. Nothing is that exciting. Nothing is that great. It's not bad. It's not terrible. Would I invest another 2 hours to watch it again? No. Do I feel like I wasted my time? No. Would I strongly recommend it to somebody else? No. Would I say if you've got nothing else better to do with your time, this will help you pass the time? Yeah. And I will say for me, look, and I've said this many times, when I go to a movie, I like a story. I like it to be at least somewhat grounded in reality, which is why I enjoy science fiction from time to time, but most of the time I want just a straight up movie that's based in reality. I don't care for all the supernatural stuff. I don't care for the fantasy genre. I can't say I've never watched it, never saw something that I kind of enjoyed, but that's just not my thing. I like things that are at least somewhat grounded in reality. The only thing that would be a deviation from that is when you watch your comic book movies, but you know exactly what you're getting when you're going in, at least before they went off the rails with their story, the message, right? The message. I'm not going to even try and do that, but I'm willing to overlook that if you've given me a halfway decent story and good effects and, car chases, fights, things blowing up. I'm a guy. I have simple tastes. I'm not looking for Chateaubriand or whatever. A good hamburger movie, and that's somebody else's analogy, but I'm going to take it because I think that's fair enough. And I would say that Roadhouse was essentially going to Wendy's and picking up a hamburger. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. It's just a hamburger. It's nothing special. That being said, the one thing that I must say was the most enjoyable aspect for me was Conor McGregor. Guy's clearly not an actor. Who cares? He just ate up the screen. He ate up all the scenery. Oh my gosh. It was hilarious to just watch him. And he looked like he relished every minute of it. And I mean, I didn't get to necessarily see any great, grand, inspiring fight scenes or any, high drama or anything, but it was fun. And the last, I guess, 15 minutes of the movie made the other 105 minutes worth my time. If you, and I hate to say it that way, but if you got 2 hours to burn, yeah, it's worth your time. There was no there that I would ever probably sit through and watch it again, but I don't feel bad that I watched it. And I certainly want to see more stuff like this come out. I don't need high concept art. Just give me a simple movie with a decent story, and if you can throw in some decent effects, or plausible effects, I'm happy. I'm content. If you're going to be selling me a superhero movie or book, yeah, you can check out on some of the plausibility, but at least make it grounded in a reality that we can accept. Okay, in any case, I mean, that's the takeaway. It was worth the 2 hours of split over 2 days to watch it, but you may not think so, and I would not recommend going on. If you're going to do anything, go find the old original with Patrick Swayze and dog. Why can I never remember the guy's name? The white-haired guy. Give me a second. I'm going to go look it up. Man, Sam Elliott. How in the world can you forget Sam Elliott? Boy, I'm pretty sad. Yeah, Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze. If you're gonna go invest some time watching a Roadhouse movie, probably go watch the 80s version. Certainly more fun. I don't know if I got much more to say about that. Okay, enough with the movie. Let's move on. Okay, so I'm still working my way through a book called Small Farm Republic. It's written by a guy by the name of John Clark. I don't know a whole lot about him or anything else. The concept is, why conservatives must embrace local agriculture, reject climate alarmism, and lead an environmental revival. Now, here's the thing. For me personally, I like it. It's good. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I got sidetracked. I had some heavy stuff come up, and I could not invest the brain power in reading what I would say is a fairly deep book. And about 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4. And the whole idea is there are legitimate things that we Republicans or conservatives can better address and have a better answer for than some of the leftist progressives that are out there. And we need to be willing to look into it and embrace that we have solutions. We have solutions that they would actually appreciate once they were applied, but we need to be forthright and honest about them and just say, hey, look, we don't necessarily buy all this other nonsense you're putting out there, but we will acknowledge that there are issues here, and these are some good solutions that are mutually beneficial. Can we agree to do these things? I mean, fair enough, right? I mean, we're always compromising away. At least if we compromise in this way, we're going to get positive outcomes and get maybe a little credit for it. To me, it's not unlike every time a Democrat decides that his party's gone too far left, that he can't stomach it anymore, comes over to the Republican Party, and the Republican Party rejoices because we picked up another former Democrat. But every time we pick up a former Democrat, we slide a little bit further to the left. I mean, it's inevitable. It's understandable, and it's not terrible, unless, of course, you're a hardcore Republican, conservative, rock rib, whatever your favorite term is. So, again, if we're going to compromise on things that actually give us a net bonus, that actually move the needle, that give everybody a positive outcome that we actually kind of sort of get to take credit for without catering to the leftist progressive nonsense. Again, so I haven't quite finished that book yet. I will spend some time going over that when I get done with it. I did get sidetracked. I planned on finishing it, but yeah, convention and other heavy stuff. But, in the meantime, I was able to finish the Blue Dawn book that I reviewed last week. I picked up another book called Beyond the Grid. Yeah, man, I really love the Kindle app. It was about 250 pages. Not a hard read. A good story for what it was. I was very happy to invest my time in that because I could idle the heavy thoughts and focus on a situation that was far worse in some respects, yet far simpler and easier to solve in other respects. And it kind of re-centers me as the reader into what would I do? How would I react? How do I take care of my family? Again, I'm not looking for, some kind of wordsmith masterpiece. I'm just looking for a good story here. And that's what it gave. It was a good story. And to that end, it's a guy. He marries his wife. They grew up kind of in the city. They moved out to the sticks. They lived what I would call a alternative lifestyle, i.e. they did the off-the-grid thing. They kind of homeschooled their kids. They raised their own food. And they just so happened to be pulled into a situation where they were not at home when there was an EMP detonation, essentially. So, and I think in the story it was actually a solar flare from the sun. It doesn't really matter. The electricity is out. So what do we do? How do we get home? So the story is pretty good. I want to say I'm almost done with the second book because they're short. They're quick, easy reads. And it's just something to kind of refocus from all the heavy dealings that are going on in the background. Just kind of, we'll call it what I would refer to as a light read. Very good, worth your time. The author is Connor McCoy. Again, the title is Beyond the Grid. And it's worth your time if that stuff interests you at all. Myself, I find myself very much enjoying post-apocalyptic fiction. Mostly because it gets you in a mindset of thinking about the really important things in front of you. Your family, your close community, and no matter what else is going on, can you shut that all down and focus about what's in front of you? In my life, I spent a whole lot of time concerning myself. I'm assuming you do the same thing. We concern ourselves in all these macro issues that we really can't fix. They're never going to be fixed 100% permanently. So it's nice to be able to disengage and focus on a story that can be entirely plausible, but yet not real. It can be entirely possible, but not yet. To just get you to focus on different things and kind of put a different idea in your head of no matter what happens, these are the things that are going to matter most, and this is how I need to think about it. Again, you may not have the same takeaway. That's okay. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. To that end, I've started on the sequel to Blue Dawn, which is called A Most Uncivil War. So where we left off in the Blue Dawn book was the Patriots have finally put together the pieces that they can make a counter attack, if you will. Bear with me, and I'll take a moment to spill it out. Okay, sorry. Little distraction there. Again, this book day, movie day, whatever, this is supposed to be lighthearted. This is supposed to and give you some things to think about. Certainly a book or a movie that might be worth your time to investigate or review. The most Uncivil War being book 2 in the series, and I haven't read it yet, but it just follows on the idea that there was a successful coup, and the United States as we once know it, or knew it, I should say, no longer exists. We don't know it anymore, right? They called themselves New America. Now, look, when you read these books that are dystopian or post-apocalyptic or whatever else, there's some license that gets to go with that fiction. And as long as it's grounded and it's at least got some level of reality, I'm all in. I enjoy them. It also gives me, fresh thought, kindling, if you will, to my own eternal flame of processing how do we get from where we're at to where I'd like us to be. Talk about the concept or the ideas behind Texas leading, or Texas being an independent country, or Texas, even if they're not fully independent, they're quasi-independent. They're a de facto independent nation within a nation, and they're leading the way, and they're doing the things that are the envy of all the surrounding states, right? When you hear these United States, yes, we're united, but not necessarily exactly the same, or not exactly doing the same things. Nobody expects California to fully ally with Texas. Likewise, we don't expect Massachusetts to fully ally with Florida. But as a general rule, we're supposed to be working together. That's kind of the problem, right? The Yankees can't see it any other way. You must do it our way or it's wrong. You must do it our way or we're going to make you do it our way. And it never ends well for us. We the people. We lose out. So as a constant refrain in a lot of books that I enjoy reading, again, they're supposed to be thought-provoking. They're supposed to be, I guess in my words, enjoyable. I find them relaxing. A lot of other people think they're very tense, or it's challenging to the mind. They can't ever see that this is going to happen or consider the negative effects. But as a child of the 80s, right, I reshared a meme that I saw about wanting your life to be an 80s movie, and you didn't imagine it would be Red Dawn. Well, we don't in fact have Red Dawn, which is funny enough, but it's not lost to me that there are all these things happening that are spelling the doom of our culture. They're bringing about the end of Western civilization, and we just stand by idly and watch it happen. So one of the things that struck me most when I was reading the book Blue Dawn, which of course is the precursor to a most Uncivil War, is the idea that all these people sat around and watched this happen. And to me, that directly correlates to the massive invasion that we've got going on right now. And then we see, the events that happened in Baltimore, I guess, yesterday, and nobody's sounding the alarm. And again, I didn't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on this today because I think I'm going to revisit it tomorrow. But the repercussions of a single major bridge in Baltimore could be as great or greater than what happened in 9/11. Perhaps not in the direct number of people affected, but the long-term economic consequences of it could be worse. And it seems unlikely. It doesn't seem to make sense. But when you consider all that's involved with that, and that the harbor is disrupted on top of it, it becomes very plausible that that was a act done on purpose. That was actually another asymmetrical attack on these United States. So when you look at, so in the book, Beyond the Grid, the idea was that it was a sunspot that did it. If you've read any of these novels or any movies or anything, you can have an EMP from a nuclear explosion or a series of them, or you can have the Carrington effect, which is essentially a solar flare which disrupts the flow of electricity because it basically overloads all the circuits all the time, everywhere, and it just burns out. So what's interesting to me is that nobody's ever considered the consequences of something that like that would happen. And the reality in my mind is it likely? Probably not. But is it a possibility? Yes. So to even spend a little bit of time thinking about, well, what do you do then? The if then, if you will. Now you can go down rabbit holes here. I don't choose to live like that. I am aware of it. It informs, or at least motivates some of my thoughts, some of my, mission, if you will. It's sometimes how I think, but it should not dictate your life. These are essentially worst case scenarios. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning and find that we have a new America, or we have America with no electrical power. And nobody really desires. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody in their right mind really desires that. But it's a plausible thing. So then when I'm contrasting those kind of quasi-heavy but light books to take in against the fluff of a movie like Roadhouse, or the thought, the deep interest in the small farm republic, it's a balancing act, right? It gives you time to think about a pretty serious subject, but not weigh yourself down with how heavy that it could potentially be, because it's somebody else's story, and it's at least separated enough that it's not you. So I guess the reason why I kind of lumped all these together is because, one, they've both been over the last 2-3 weeks that they've all kind of happened, right? Finished one book, starting another one. The other one I'm on a pause because I didn't successfully finish it the way I planned. And then, of course, I threw in the movie there. One is a contrast. Two is just kind of the show. You don't have to get stuck in a trap of doing the same thing all the time. There should be some variation. There is time to enjoy things. There is time to get some mindless fluff. There is time to do the heavy lifting, if you will. There's a time for everything, right? This should not be a unique concept. This isn't anything coming from you out of left field. It's just an idea that not everything has to be uber meaningful. Not everything has to be very important. Not everything has to be taken very seriously. There's time enough for that stuff. So as I'm contemplating what I'm going to do for tomorrow, the Friday episode, I always think about, I've usually hit 2 or 3 heavy subjects or thoughts, if you will, earlier in the week. How can I send you off as a listener with somewhat related, or at least relatable ideas to consider over the weekend, and maybe recapture what you're thinking about things? So with that in mind, and now that I've got just a few minutes left of my time, and I've kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about, I want to throw out something that I'm working on pulling off right now. The club I belong to, the Colin Patriots, we have a meeting that we normally have on the second Tuesday of the month, which coincidentally would be the 9th of April. We're going to put together, I guess, a forum where we're going to be discussing or talking about the future of the Republican Party. And I've invited, or I'm going to invite, both people that are running to be the chairman for the county party in Collin County. I've also invited a number of other people to come and speak on various aspects of how do we go forward. What do we do as the conservatives, as the Christians, going forward? How do we motivate, educate, and keep involved all these people that kind of like Texas, that are quite excited about Texas, that are coming to Texas? How do we convince them that what we're doing here works and is a good thing? And how do we keep it in track with that, or on track with that, going forward? And what are some of the things that maybe need to be stressed? Or what are some of the things that actually present some challenges that we got to work through and come up with a good idea, or a good set of ideas on how to properly deal with them? And I don't see a lot of that going on. And while I don't want to turn my brand or my podcast into a shill for the Republican Party. I'm sure some people think that it is, but the reality is, in Texas, to get things done that matter, you have to work with the party. You have to work with the Republican Party. And yeah, I consider myself a good Republican, but again, we need these people to work with us. All of these people. We want them all to be on board. Yeah, we can't fix the leftist progressives. The socialists are going to do what they do, which is look to destroy and eat the substance or sustenance of everybody else. We can't deal with that other than to make them feel uncomfortable. Let them go somewhere else. Move on to a better pasture for yourself. But we're going to do what we do here. We're going to support the Texian way, right? So, you know, when I read these books, when I watch these movies, I'm trying to break free from that constant weight in the back of my mind, especially when I'm reading other books that are a little heavier. And the idea is, how can we improve what we have, or how can we maintain what we have? How can we move forward? Well, I think that rates a conversation. I think that rates a deeper discussion. And hopefully we can do that without going down rabbit trails, without beating each other up, without turning into a name-calling mess. So I haven't locked down the location just yet. Probably going to be at Redemption Point Church in McKinney. Probably going to be at 7 p.m. And I'm looking to have, I don't know, between 3 and 5 different speakers or different people to input their vision, their thoughts on where are we going? Where do you see Texas? Where do we see the Republican Party as part of Texas going forward? What does the future look like as a conservative? So I'm sorry I had to use the last couple of minutes as basically a pitch, but it's coming. And it's coming in, 12 days or whatever. I want to make you aware of it. I'm a little excited about that. I would like for you to help me spread the word. April the 9th, McKinney, Texas, 7 o'clock. We'll be there. Please come and join us. And with that, this has been According to Callus, and I will see you on the other side.